Joining us now on the show, the very awesome Barbara Crampton. Barbara, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us today.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here.
And first off, I know that we're talking about From Beyond as our episode today, but we did an episode with Stuart Gordon, we did an episode with Jeffery Combs, and you three happen to have also in common the 30th anniversary of Reanimator, so congratulations on that.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's such a great movie, and when we talked to Stuart about it last year, we were a little early. We wanted to kind of do the 29th anniversary, just to kind of, get in there a little bit
Right.
early before everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Cool.
with From Beyond, though, when you first read the script, what did you think about it?
Well, I guess the thing that was most prominent in my mind, two things probably. First of all, was the Pretorius monster. That was quite well drawn out. And Stuart had also told me that we were going to have a huge special effects team for that. So that was exciting because even though I never get to wear those kinds of prosthetics and things, I love working with them. It's really fun. And the second thing was that I thought my character was probably going to be more interesting for me to play than Reanimator, even though Reanimator is sort of the seminal Stuart Gordon picture and the one that people remember him for the most. The character in From Beyond of Catherine McMichaels was really interesting to me. I had so many different aspects of one person to play, and it was really exciting to see that build and that release at the end. It was just it was like a dream. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had a role that well drawn out and that different in so many ways in the same movie. In 85 minutes, I got to go through many machinations of her mind and her desires, and so it was really a fascinating character to play.
Yeah, it's truly amazing because I mean, in Reanimator, you're almost like the damsel in distress type character, but in From Beyond,
Hmm.
your character, you're in control of the situation. In fact, you're kind of responsible for the events that are transpiring.
Yeah, Stuart always says it was kind of like Jeffrey Combs and I switched our
Right, right.
characters, from movie to movie. But also, even though I was the damsel in distress in Reanimator, it was really clear to me that I didn't want to make her how Jeff's character recalls me saying that I'm a bubble-headed co-ed. I didn't want her to be that. I wanted her to have some smarts to her. I mean, she's the dean's daughter. She's got to, she's in college. She has to be, have some wits about her. So I wanted to make sure that I colored her in such a way that she wasn't really so much of a victim, even though, we all know how she ends up at the end.
Right. Now, from Beyond, is it true that Stewart kind of had to fight for you because of your age?
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. Originally, even before From Beyond, he wanted to make Dagon with Jeffrey and I. He couldn't get Dagon financed for the longest time, and then we became, in his mind, too old to play the parts that he wanted us to play. So he went for somebody else. Now, in From Beyond, he had to fight for me because everybody thought I was too young to play that part. That seems to be a running theme for me. I guess they thought I was too young for the part in Your Next, but they didn't realize that until I got to the set because I never met Simon Barrett or anybody involved with the picture until I got there. So age definitely has a lot to do with it. Yeah, he definitely had to fight for me for From Beyond, and so I just waited it out, and he finally got what he wanted, which is usual with Stuart Gordon. If you know him, he doesn't give up until people say yes to him, which is one of his endearing qualities and what makes him the great filmmaker that he is. I mean, he always, gets his way and gets his point across. And so we just put my hair up and I put glasses on. Obviously, you all know this. And I tried to keep my voice lower than normal. I dressed a little older than I normally would dress. So I think we, probably somewhat pulled it off.
Yeah, no, it was.
I hope.
No, it was.
I hope we did.
I mean, it's one of those movies that we're still talking about, so you must have done something right.
Yeah.
Now, when we had Jeffrey on the show, and I asked him this question, but let's see about you. Did you actually read any H.P. Lovecraft prior to doing Reanimator?
No, I had no
Yeah.
idea who he was. No, and Jeffrey always says the same thing. He he thought Lovecraft was a boat. We were going on a boat trip to make the movie. But no, I think, in some respects, I think that Stuart has introduced the world to Lovecraft. And I said this recently at the Stanley Film Festival. They gave him a Master of Horror Award and showed a 35 millimeter print of Reanimator as well. That was this past weekend. And what I said to him was, people think that you've introduced the world to Lovecraft, but really I think that Lovecraft has also introduced the world to you. I think that's very true. I think that he has a distinct mark on American cinema and is a true master of horror in every sense of the word. And I think a lot of filmmakers did have a sense of Lovecraft, and Stuart has really, brought that forward with his movies. But also, there's something about Lovecraft that has introduced the world to Stuart and his aesthetic and how he makes a movie. And so I think in combination somehow beyond the grave, they're working together.
Yeah, I think I think I totally agree with you there when it comes to, you think Lovecraft, you think Stuart Gordon, you think Stuart Gordon, you think Lovecraft. It really is.
Yeah, it's true, right?
A great marriage.
Hand in hand. I mean, more than anybody else, I think when you think of Lovecraft, you do think of him.
So, rumor has it that you sold your dominatrix outfit at a yard sale. True or false?
Oh, that's horrible. Yes, isn't that terrible? I can't believe the things I sold. It's, I guess we didn't realize back then the place in history some of these things would hold for the fans and whoever. And we didn't, of course, know many years ago, even, 20, 25 years ago, that Reanimator was going to have the long life that it has had. Yes, I had a closet full of old things, and I thought, what am I going to do with this old leather outfit with studs on it? I've worn it in the movie. I can't wear it for a boyfriend or a husband. I'm going to have to get rid of this thing. And I was having a yard sale, so I put it out there for like $3, and somebody bought it. Wow. I also had some of the original scrubs from Dan Kane and Herbert West that they wore, and there's a jacket that Dan Kane wears, and it's a jean jacket, and it has sort of a corduroy collar to it, and I love that jacket. It was so warm, and Bruce let me borrow that a few times on the set when I was cold. So I said, I want this jacket. I'm always going to think of you and Reanimator when I'm wearing this jacket. And I sold that at the same yard sale too, so I don't have that. So I'm sorry, everyone. I wish I still had it.
Probably fetch a better price than $3 nowadays.
It would, It's really too bad. But I'm still not saving things. I should be saving things. You just never think. Well, I've done a couple movies recently, and I still have never saved anything. But I'm a constant clearer outer. I just, I don't like clutter. I'm constantly cleaning up after my family and everybody else. But and you never think when you're making a movie that it's going to become a cult classic hit. So you never think anybody's going to want any of this old crap, So you just get rid of it.
No,
sorry.
You still do, horror films. You still are in the industry when it comes to horror. What do you think of the quality of horror movies today compared to the 80s?
I think they're great. I mean, I recently saw The Babadook, which I was floored by, and I saw a couple movies at Stanley that I really liked. The Final Girls. That's coming out really soon. I also saw Some Kind of Hate, and I'd have to say that they feel more real to me now than they did maybe when I was making a movie. Also, I think the acting has changed a little bit. It was a little bit bigger than life, say, like in the 40s and 50s, the acting, and slowly, as time went on, as decades went on, everybody's gotten a little bit more simple and more realistic. And it feels like you're really looking into the soul and the mind and the inner character of a person more so than it used to be. It just seemed more heightened and more melodramatic back in the 80s when I was doing movies when I first started. And now, I fight to be as simple as possible. And I really noticed that after I came back and did Your Next, because I had taken quite a bit of time off. I moved to San Francisco with my husband. I had a couple of kids, and I was really just taking care of them. And out of the blue, I got this call to do Your Next, and was on the set 10 days later with A.J. Bowen and Joe Swanberg. Although I can't say Joe Swanberg is just, as simple and as genuine as some of the other guys, but because he's a little over the top, and I love him for that. But it seemed, with Ty West and Amy Simons and AJ and all these guys, and Simon Barrett's writing, I just got a sense that, just to be really, really real and to work on that. And that just seemed a little bit different to me. And I think people are telling more personal stories now, especially with the one I just mentioned, like The Babadook's just such a beautiful, original, but very human story that we can all relate to. And look at the movie Let the Right One In. I mean, I don't think there's been a better horror movie, in the last decade than that one. So I think it's different in that people are just telling more personal stories and are just a little bit more real. And there's a lot more of them. Everybody's making a movie now. Seems like you can make a movie on your iPhone. People are doing that. So there's a lot more filmmakers out there. I think it's a really exciting time for horror, and also for me in particular to come back to it, because I suddenly realized that I'm in a club that I didn't know I belonged to, with the advent of, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all this. They didn't have that when I was around. So
right.
Originally, we were making movies in our own little bubble. And if we ever got to meet John Carpenter, it was like, ooh, wow, John Carpenter. Now we just see him at a convention somewhere and we hang out, and it's just a lot more like a club. It's, and anybody's allowed in, if you're making a movie and you're hanging out with horror people, you can go to the Jump Cut Cafe in Los Angeles, and they have horror trivia night there, hosted by Ryan Turek, and there's just a lot more venues for everybody to kind of get together and discuss films and hang out and be together. So I'm really happy to be back and working again.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you to be back, and you were just at South by Southwest not too long ago for your movie We Are Still Here. How was that experience? How was South by Southwest?
Oh, it was so crazy. I'd never seen anything quite like that. That's a huge festival, music and technology and films. And when we found out that we were part of the festival, they didn't know if actually they could bring us because they couldn't get us a room. I think something like 300,000 people descend on Austin for a period of a couple of weeks, and we were on a waiting list just to get a room. And really, my experience of that was I had to just go there, go to a couple of screenings, a couple of parties that they wanted us to attend, dinner, and then a couple of interviews, and then we had to leave because somebody else was coming in to use our room. So basically, it was all a blur for me. I think it's a fantastic, beautiful, wonderful festival they put on with just so much going on. But I feel like for me, I couldn't really attend the festival. I didn't go to see any other movies because I just didn't have time to. And I was just there for our movie. But it was very well received, and very happy to be with my friend Ted Gagan. He's the writer-director. He's like a walking encyclopedia of horror movies. And I met him when we were doing Your Next because he was the publicist for that movie. That's his day job.
Wow.
It's hard to make. It's hard to make movies in independent. It's hard to make money in independent cinema, and hard to make a movie and hard to make money. So that's kind of his day job, and has been his day job for like 10 years. And he was the publicist on that movie, and we just hit it off and became friends. And then he's quite prolific with his screenwriting and written a lot of movies that have gotten produced. But this was his first directing job. And he had known Travis Stevens for a long time and hooked up with him. And then they both brought it to Dark Sky, who I think Ted had done some publicity for in the past. And it actually came together very quickly once he got Travis on board. But initially, when he gave me the script, it was a couple of years ago, and I read it and I thought it was really good. And he told me at the time that he had me in mind for this part of Anne, this grieving mother who has lost her son in a car accident, and she and her husband moved to a house in the country to kind of start a new life, and they find that they are haunted in the new house. But who are they haunted by? And that's the question. Maybe it's the son, maybe it's some other spirits from the house long ago, and a lot of chaos ensues in the movie. But it was that movie came to me really out of my friendship with Ted and his love of Stuart Gordon's movies and stuff that I had done, and so I was really happy to get to work with him, and so happy that he's getting great reviews. And it's coming out June 5th, I think. And, limited theatrical, which I don't even know what that means. I'm gonna have to look that up. And I guess it'll be online at the same time.
Yeah, that seems to be the new way of doing things. It's a great world that we live in, though, when you can stay in the comforts of your home and watch a great movie. Click of a button, you're watching it. So
true. You can watch it anywhere.
So as you mentioned, June 5th here in the States. We are still here, starring Barbara Crampton. Barbara, thanks so much for taking your time today to talk to us. It was really great.
Thank you, Dan. Nice to be here, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was that was back when Skype would,
just kick us off.
Yeah.
That's when you had to talk to Abel Ferrara all by yourself.
You get Barbara Crampton, I get Abel Ferrara. What a fucking world we live in.
I love too. The other day I was like, we should put our Abel Ferrara interview up on YouTube, and you're like,
I don't care.
No big loss.
Yeah. Sorry, Abel. I don't care.